Welcome back to another episode of Varsity House Podcast Sports Show, and I'm your host, Shaun Crawford. Of course, we have my co-host, Carl Jones, and then on this episode, we have a special guest, Troy West, sports handicapper, sports consultant, one of the best, stationed out in Seattle. So appreciate you joining us, Troy. Recapping the season, the week before the Super Bowl is the Pro Bowl, and so we kind of want to start there. Obviously, it was a new, a new idea around it, a new landscape to where it was a lot of flag football. There were more games, there were more skills challenges, and obviously when you look at the Pro Bowl, it's tough because it's hard to ask players to go out there and play full speed when the money isn't the same. The everything's not, a Super Bowl is not on the line. Conference championship, all those things aren't on the line. It's just, hey, we're just gathering the best guys around and go play a game for fun. And so, once you get to that level in the NFL, playing football for fun is not anything special anymore. And so, obviously, like I said, it was a new landscape. Some players enjoyed it. Some players called it out. I know I did see Myles Garrett come off limping, after a state or a skills challenge. But for as a fan, for me, I thought it was cool. I don't know how long it'll last. I think since it was like the first year, it was cool seeing something different. I'm sure the guys had a good time, being around each other. But I don't want to say get rid of it, but I don't think there's really an option. So I guess they got to stick with this for a couple years, and as long as the injuries stay down, because I did see some. I remember it was a play where Minka Fitzpatrick actually challenged a receiver going for the ball, and it was like he might have got hit on the head by his own defender, and so. I think they'll have to look into that whole thing, like flag football. Like even now, high school kids, college kids, you have to wear like a little foam type of cloth over your head when you're playing flag football nowadays. So maybe they'll incorporate that in the future just to help with injuries. But those are my thoughts on it. I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Both of you.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nose. I mean, Shaun, you played at a high level, but yeah, there's just no right way to do it. I mean, you got to avoid the injuries. So I think they did a good job with it. I think being in Las Vegas helps a lot. I think no matter what, you're going to draw a crowd there. People are going to want to fly in and see what's going on because you got other things to do as well, right? Even for the players, I think Vegas is a great destination. So if you keep it there, I think you're in good shape. And hey, did you see that? How about that hit by Jalen Ramsey on Tyreek Hill? That was hey, so we got a little bit of action in it as well, and a little bit of the competitive spirit, which was good. But like you said, you just can't risk injuries at this point. The one thing I do wish they would get back is having the integrity behind who makes the Pro Bowl, right? I mean, guys like Huntley making the game, that's a head scratcher. I think you really lose the integrity of it at that point. And so that's one thing that I don't like either. They got to get back to who is the most deserving to play in this game and go with the stats, go with what the fans believe, but don't just throw out random names like Tyler Huntley. I think that really you do yourself a disservice at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that hurt going into the games because when you see something like that, it kind of devalues your interest on Sunday because now you're like, well, if the best players truly aren't representing the NFL on this day, why should I tune in? That was the allure of the Pro Bowl. And also in this day and age in 2023, the players just make too much money in general for them to want to compete at the end of the season like this anyways. 10, 15 years ago where the salaries aren't skyrocketing to these absurd amounts, you might be a little bit more inclined to, play in this all-star game at the end of the season. But now if you're CMC making $15, $20 million this year, and I don't want to pocket watch him, but what is an extra $80K going to do for him in terms of long-term health? So I understand the players in that regard. I did see the stats before we hopped on. 6 million people watch the flag football game. That is absurd. That means we are obsessed with football in this country. I ain't mad at it. But a flag football game, 6 million people watch. That is more than the average fan watched the first 2 rounds of the NBA playoffs, which is crazy to hear. So it's better than what it was. It's still not great. But, I mean, what it was in the past 4 or 5 years, the Pro Bowl was terrible, and I'm glad that.
Yeah, and even at the game, it looked like a sold-out crowd. And obviously, if you've been to Vegas or if you've heard about Vegas Stadium, you're not just watching a football game. You're having a good time. So I think they chose the right spot to have it. It's a location like Troy mentioned that a lot of people can get to. They can have fun outside of the game as well. So I don't know. Like we mentioned, like I don't know where it goes. I think it's a step in the right direction, but at the end of the day, I think like you said, getting the best players there would also help. And then including we talked about this last week on our show, but including some of those skill challenges like fastest man, we would definitely
I
want
agree.
that back. And then longest arm, I think those two would be cool to have back. But it looked like they all had fun, and it was a great opportunity, obviously for all the players out there. So obviously we had the Pro Bowl that was taking place, and then this week news broke, AJ Green retired. Something that we probably all speculated that it would come soon. Like obviously it's random, but just looking at his career, like hell of a career, over 10,000 yards, 70 touchdowns, 7 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pros. And I remember his days at Georgia, because back in the day, it was like Georgia really, I feel like Georgia wasn't really known for like that great receiver. And maybe like this is going back, but maybe it's like since like Hines Ward, and I could be wrong, but um, just AJ Green, I felt like took Georgia's program to another level personally for me. And then seeing him get into the league, and obviously me and Carl from Cleveland, and so they played the Browns, twice a year, every year when he was with the Bengals. We saw a ton of them, and so it wasn't necessarily a good thing seeing them and everything like that. But I thought it was a hell of a career. I thought he played well even with the Cardinals just this past year, doing helping out as much as he could until Hopkins came back and all those things. But great player, definitely wanted to just give him his flowers, and congratulations on a long successful career.
Yeah, he had a great career. It pains me, as you guys, like being athletes, it pains me to see a lot of these guys continue maybe a little bit too long because he's been on the map now the last 3 4 years, and he's been playing, but he hasn't been playing. We saw it with Des Bryant; his career kind of dwindled at the end. Terrell Owens dwindled at the end, but you don't want to take away the credit of what an incredible career AJ Green had. But tough too for a guy that again, kind of like Calvin Johnson, was never on winning football teams. That also hurts, but. Hall of Famer without a doubt, but yeah, you just wonder with these athletes. I know they want to keep pushing it, but we're seeing it right now with Michael Thomas, another guy. Has had a great career, but is it over? Can he keep going? And we're seeing it with a lot of wide receivers, see with a lot of running backs as well. I mean, my guy Zeke Elliott. How you know his career is kind of getting tarnished. I looked at his numbers yesterday. He's got the same stats as Terrell Davis, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but Zeke Elliott's getting
Hmm.
trashed. So I don't want to get off the AJ Green topic, but it pains me to see kind of these guys keep trying to stretch their career when, maybe if they hung it up a couple years earlier, they're without a doubt first ballot Hall of Famers with the numbers. But no, I commend them. I loved AJ Green, an absolute phenom. Kind of my version of Megatron, right? I loved AJ Green, so tip my cap to him.
Yeah, AJ Green's career, obviously Hall of Fame worthy without a doubt. But anytime that anyone from that 2011 draft class hangs it up, it kind of like gives me chills to just see who was in this draft class. So you have Cam Newton, obviously was the first pick in that draft, followed by Von Miller. Then AJ Green was fourth, followed by Pat Peterson, then Julio Jones. Don't forget about Alden Smith, who his first 3 years probably rivals just about anybody in the NFL. Then Tyron Smith, Hall of Fame worthy tackle that plays for the Cowboys. Then J.J. Watt. That top 10 right there is just ridiculous. But then don't forget, Richard Sherman was a fifth-round pick. Jason Kelsey, who's a Hall of Fame center, was a sixth-round pick. Then Cam Jordan and Cam Hayward. That 2011 draft class might be one of the best ever. I know they probably don't have like the excellent quarterback that maybe gets them highly regarded. But I know when J.J. hung it up at the conclusion of the season, and then with AJ Green doing it now, you just start to get chills about this draft class because this was the draft class where I'm getting into high school and you get to see these guys. I saw them flourish through college, and they really left a crazy impact on the game. I mean, from all positions. So just shout out to AJ Green in that 2011 draft class,
Yeah,
man.
no, both of those points are interesting just because you start to look at like J.J. Watt, for example, and he's a dominant player, and I feel like he's just well respected. And it's obviously not the same J.J. Watt that's going out there and leading the league in sacks and those things and scoring touchdowns too. But uh, as long as my as in regards to players, not hanging it up like early enough, maybe. My only thought on that part is like if the teams are still cutting the check, and and the reps are like a third of what you're used to, like it might be kind of hard to just hang it up. And so I feel like I feel like at the point a lot I know a lot of like former athletes say, or retired athletes say, like when they lose the drive to like do 3 a days, do 2 a days in the off season, that's when they start to hang it up. But that's an interesting topic for sure, because I'm sure every case is different, and it's just like I'm sure some players maybe even want to hang it up, but a team is like, hey, like come on, like give us your best, something like that. So you never know, but because it'll be interesting to see what like a player like Von Miller does soon, who
Well, Carl mentioned Julio
right.
Jones. I mean, another guy that's just, when's he going to hang it up? I mean, he just keeps going and going. We thought we'd maybe see vintage Julio with Tom Brady, and boy, what a bust that was as well. So it's hard. It's hard to watch sometimes.
Right. And so now we finally get to Super Bowl week. A lot of the I guess the nonsense is behind us, and we got a historic Super Bowl. If you want to look at the Andy Reid Bowl, obviously playing his former team, you got two black quarterbacks starting for the first time against each other in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, and obviously just what a story it is for both teams. To where it's like if you look at the Eagles, I feel like coming into the season they had a solid year the first year, making the playoffs, doing their thing, and the playoff game that they played in was awful. I remember looking at it last year and I was like, oh my god, like this team, I don't know how they made the playoffs. Like, what are they doing? They got Devontae Smith run blocking and all these other things. Like it was just bad. But obviously in free agent they did their thing on the front seven. They went out and got Chauncey Gardner, who had a hell of a year. AJ Brown, who's killing it this year. So they definitely did their thing in the offseason, and I would say like they're a team that should be here. I don't think it was a Cinderella story. The roster's loaded top to bottom, and so obviously on the other side with the Chiefs losing Tariq Hill, what was going to happen? Obviously, like losing a player like that, and Mahomes just went into his bag again and showed you why he's one of the best. And so I'm excited for the Super Bowl. Like obviously that Bengals Chiefs game last or 2 weekends ago was amazing. So I would have been happy with either team in there. But to get Patrick Mahomes, to get the Kelsey brothers, involved in this game as well, and Chiefs, Eagles, there's so much on the line, and I think it's going to be an amazing game. But I think it's like this game will hit people like emotionally, unlike maybe any other Super Bowls. The fan bases too. You got the Chiefs, Wild Kingdom, and then you got the Eagles fans, and people already know about them. So I'm already knowing Arizona is going to be set on fire this weekend.
They are, no lie. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a great matchup. I'm really looking forward to it. Not often do you get both one seeds matching up in the Super Bowl. That's historic as well. And I think if you look at it top to bottom, I think you did get the two best teams in the NFL, which if you look back at Super Bowls in the past, I don't think we've had that. Even last year with the Bengals sneaking in there, and years prior the Niners sneaking in, and it just hasn't happened in a long time. The point spread reflects it. Philadelphia being a 1 or 1.5 point favorite. So yeah, it's going to be intriguing, really intriguing. I think it comes down to me. When you have a game this close, it comes down to the quarterback and the head coach. And I do think the Kansas City Chiefs got the better on both sides with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Not to say that Hurts can't do it. And boy, Coach Sirianni's done an unbelievable job. He'll probably get Coach of the Year this year. But Andy Reid's been there. He's great off bye weeks. If you look at his bye week record, I think he's like 10-1 over his last 11. And he's got the bye this week. So a lot of great things to look at. I think the run game of Philadelphia against that front four of Kansas City. Chris Jones, one of the best run stoppers in the league. Frank Clark. Will they be able to get the run game going? I think Kansas City's defense is underrated. I really do. I think a lot of people think you kind of just do whatever you want, and they're just an offensive-minded team. But he did a hell of a job against Joe Burrow and that offense of Cincinnati just a little over a week ago. So that's an interesting matchup as well. For me, I like the Chiefs. I just think you got the better coach. And Mahomes looked healthy enough last week. I don't know how healthy he is. A lot of people talk about that, but I don't. He looked healthy enough, and give him another week. I think we'll see him at his best.
Yeah, I think the story about how the Chiefs got here, I think, doesn't get enough publicity, especially I know with all the narratives that are great. Andy Reid, 2 black quarterbacks in the Kelsey Bowl. But the Chiefs' secondary is basically all rookies. And they also start a rookie defensive end. And then, Sky Moore it gets a lot of reps and will do so going forward because McCole Hardman got put on IR, I believe. So their running back, Isaiah Pacheco, also a rookie. So this team, quote unquote, this is supposed to be the rebuilding year for the Chiefs, right? Yet they still found a way to just dominate their way to another Super Bowl run. But what I want to ask you, as someone who is in the handicap business, what are the lines like for this? Like, what is the movement in terms of, the public versus the experts? Because usually I feel like the public always is going to back the quarterback, like the better quarterback of just it's Patrick Mahomes, right? Or always bet on Tom Brady or something in that regard. I guess from your perspective, what are you seeing in terms of early trends now that we're about 5 or so days away from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so the over-under is one of the highest we've seen in the Super Bowl. I think it's around 50 to 51 now, which it stayed steady there. So a lot of people are liking the over just because, 2 high-powered offenses. A lot of people are thinking you'll see a 34-30 type football game. But I don't know. Last year we had the Rams who had a pretty good offense and the Bengals, and it didn't get near 50. So that part will be interesting. Philadelphia opened up as a 2.5-point favorite. That thing's down to 1.5 now, which means a lot of the sharp money's going on Kansas City. A lot of the general public will overreact to what they've seen in the playoffs. So you look at Philadelphia and they blew out the 49ers, but a little bit of an asterisk on that one. But then the week before that, they blew out the Giants. The Giants, to me, weren't playoff worthy, in my opinion. They didn't bring in a playoff roster, in my opinion. So, but people are looking at it going, man, I'm getting a team that just won their last 2 games by 30-plus points. I'll take them all day over the Chiefs. And then you get the smarter better that's kind of looking at it. Okay, I've got Andy Reid in my back pocket. Give me 2 weeks of Andy Reid. Give me a healthier Patrick Mahomes, who's been in Super Bowls. They've got the experience. So you could kind of look at it 2 ways, right? You could go, hey, we got this really hot team with Philadelphia that's beating teams by 30 points. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They've got an unbelievable defense. Or you can kind of look at it and peel it back and go, I'm getting the better coach, the better quarterback, the more experienced coaching staff. Eric Bieniemy's obviously called several offensive games in Super Bowls as well. So it's kind of what's your flavor, right? I mean, do you want the more balanced team with Philadelphia, or do you want the more experienced quarterback, more experienced coach with Kansas City? But the smart money, the big money is going in on Kansas City. A lot of the public money is going in on Philadelphia. And typically the public money overreacts to what they've seen over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, they've seen those 2 30-point blowouts, and they're going, my money's going on Philadelphia. They're the hot team, and they're blowing teams out.
That's interesting because I definitely look at. I would say I'm looking on the public side of things. Just because the roster for one is just loaded. We were talking about them and the 49ers probably had the 1 and 2 1A 1B as far as rosters. I had a buddy of mine, Julian Love, even go on. I think it was football in America maybe, and say. All the coach has to do is just get out of the way. And, he said the crew up there could coach him. I didn't necessarily agree with that, but the roster is that good. And I do think I think it'll just be tough because obviously, you talk about the adjustments, you talk about the coaching staff, which will be huge because you look at Mahomes in that versus the game versus the Bengals. And I think they gave up 6 sacks within 6 hurries within his first 9 passing attempts. And then after that, it was the next 18 was 0. So obviously that goes to coaching, that goes to, in-game adjustments and things like that. But I do see the Eagles, having a lot to throw at them. And I think Mahomes will battle back. I think he'll answer, but I just think as long as Jalen Hurts just does good, I don't know. It may be a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you look at the Eagles, right? And you, Shaun, you played defense, right? I mean, you look at the Eagles and you've seen Daniel Jones and you've seen Brock Purdy, and then you saw Josh Johnson. So, you look good against those teams. Not to say that they can't guard Mahomes, but it's a different animal that you're training for. That 49ers offense was so one-dimensional last week, and then even the week prior with Daniel Jones. I mean, where do we rate Daniel Jones in terms of quality quarterback? So you're just preparing for a different animal. I could be wrong, like you said. Maybe they're ready for it, but you're definitely preparing for a much different animal than what they've seen over the last few weeks.
I'm throwing you on the spot here a little bit. In terms of, have you looked ahead at any like props or anything in that regard that you're liking on the early side?
Yeah, there's some interesting ones out there. Over under. I'll be curious your guys think as well, but over under 40 yards for longest touchdowns, an interesting prop. I personally think it's going to go under. I think the Chiefs don't really have that big play wide receiver that they've had in the years past, like Tyreek Hill. If you watch a lot of the Chiefs touchdowns, it's when they get in the red zone inside the 10, and it's Kelsey or however they want to do it inside the red zone. And then obviously on the other side of the football, Hurts. These guys seem to get methodical drives going, 10-play drives. They get in the end zone. So that's one. I like the under 40 as longest touchdown. There's an ongoing joke out there. If you bet Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown, you're hitting over 70% of the time. So once they get inside the 5-yard line, it's very likely that Hurts is getting that ball and carrying it. So that's another interesting prop to bet the anytime touchdown with him. Gainwell's been a very underrated running back for the Eagles. They use him a lot. They almost used him more than Miles Sanders in that last game. So his over rushing yards, I believe, in the 30s. So taking a look at that as well is an interesting prop. And a lot of people will go to the obvious ones, right? They'll go to the Travis Kelce over yards. Another one I did hear that's interesting is Mahomes over under completions 25. And I do think he goes over that. I think he's going to throw the ball a lot. Eagles' run defense is solid. I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. So over 25 completions for Mahomes is another one I like.
That the first one you gave, I love. Like, might as soon as we end this up, I might go on FanDuel right away because I really like the idea, everything about that one. Because I saw Jalen Hurts try to complete go balls last week to over the Niners DBs, and it didn't go well. So I really like that.
Obviously, since we're on the betting topic, we touched on this a little bit last week. Ohio, legalized gambling, but also came in. We got this report like 24 hours ago, 21 hours ago. It says calls to Ohio problem gambling helpline have skyrocketed since the launch of sports betting in January. And so we talked about this a little bit pre-show, and then also last week where it's just like you got people wanting to make these, 12-leg parlays, these 20-leg parlays, because they like, oh, snap, like, let me just throw $5 on it. Let me just throw $20 on it. And now my entire Twitter feed of just, like, friends from home is like, who is a big one? Jared Allen. Like, you'll see people who, like, are sports fans just start to just, like, tweet at certain players. And it's just, like, at 11 p.m. at night, like, hey, bro, like, why you snapping on Jared Allen for not getting –
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah. No, definitely. And so it's funny. It's funny, like, seeing, like, both sides of it, like, seeing social media explode, seeing people start to, like, send out their link for the, the free play and doing all those things. But then also the other side of it is, like, calls to Ohio gambling problem has skyrocketed. So obviously there's two sides to the story. I mean, it's fun and entertaining. Like I think it gives you, interest in watching a game or watching a Monday night basketball game, Tuesday, Wednesday night basketball game. But then also on the other end, like, there has to be, like, some self-discipline when it comes to betting. But Troy, definitely want to get your take maybe on, like, also just, like, some stuff you've seen from, when states were first legalized, or also maybe some clients that you have, just anything like that.
Well, hey, the good news is people are admitting they have a problem, right? At least they're calling the phone numbers. That's step one, right, in the 12-step process. No, it's gotten crazy. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm 35. I've been doing this since I was 16 years old. So I've been doing this 19 years. and the evolution is unlike anything I've ever seen. I mean, it used to be where you literally had to take your cash, go to your local grocery store, wire your money through Western Union, Money Tree, any of those. You had to wire your money to the sports book that was done in Costa Rica, and then it was all done from there. Now we've got sports books popping up everywhere. I mean, Seattle's one of the most liberal states in the world, and we've got DraftKings sports books. We've got BetMGM here. We've got everything, and it's at the tip of your fingers. I mean, and the stuff we can bet on now used to be first half, second half, and just the game. Now you can go in on your phone or in a casino and you could bet to the play. I mean, you could bet, is the next play going to be a run? Is it going to be a pass? You could bet just about anything under the moon. You can bet right now. You can bet any prop bet that you could even think of. You know, will the guy get a triple double? Will he not? Will the guy get 5 rebounds? Will he not? I mean, you can literally bet anything. You could bet underdogs. Will so-and-so get an interception? It's just crazy, the evolution of it. And so, and the accessibility of it, it's just unbelievable. I mean, like I said, I walk into these DraftKings sports books, and it's become like the slot machine. You know, these gamblers, they get addicted to the slot machine and they're just pulling the thing over and over and over. That's what we've done with parlays. These guys are going, man, if I just hit one, I'm set. And social media has killed it. You know what I mean? You've got FanDuel, DraftKings, all the sport networks out there, Action Sport. We publicize the big wins, right? Bleacher Report is constantly like, look at this guy. He bet $10 on this long shot and his life's changed forever. But we don't hear the horror stories, right? We don't hear the guys that are losing thousands and thousands of dollars a week. And I can tell you, I've got guys. I've got clients coming to me asking me for loans, going, hey, I've just lost. I can't feed my kids. I'm serious. I mean, seriously, there's a lot of guys that are betting their last $300-400 a day trying to hit the big one because social media has done such a good job of blowing up what those big wins look like. So, boy, I hope people can get it under control because it can get scary. Like we talked about, $25 a day, you're losing that 7 days a week. Boy, it starts adding up over the course of a year.
And then along those lines, there's always the same line of, oh, that wasn't that hard. Like, I see what he was thinking on when he put that parlay together. Right. Like, not, buddy, like Marcus Smart to get a double-double. I could have did that. Like, Patrick Mahomes to get 350 and 3 touchdowns. That's not, he does that on the record.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that. But no, you're right. When you look at these bets, you're like, boy, that really isn't. He's not doing anything off the wall. But it's timing, and it's so hard to hit. Once it's amazing. I don't have the stats in front of me, but if you look up the stats of hitting a 3-team parlay versus a 4 versus a 5, I mean, the odds just literally go down to almost like 0.0001% of hitting a 12-teamer. They just continuously go down.
I have a question. So, as looking at sports bookkeeping and things like that, what industry would you compare that to? Because like you mentioned, I don't know if you want to share it, but you mentioned your percentage just from 2022, and I'm sure every year isn't like that. So, would it be considered? Obviously there's highs and lows. Would it be considered to like a stock market, or how would you compare it?
Yeah, stock market's a perfect example, and that's actually the biggest driver of people canceling our memberships at TroyWins.com. Is, I tell people every time it's a 365-day a year business. I mean, you can literally bet on a sport game every single day of the year. There's at least something to bet on, and so many people want instant gratification. And it's like you said, stock market. Someone tells you, hey, get in on this stock, you get in, and it just kind of rides like this. You start getting impatient and you're like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm pulling out. I'm going to get into a different stock. You've got to stay consistent. You got to manage your money properly. You got to make sure you have the money to bet. That's one of my first questions is, do you have a bankroll? Do you have an established bankroll? Are you comfortable? If we have a bad month, it's like, I'll give you an example. Perfect example. This was just last weekend. We went 7-2 Friday, 7-3 Saturday, 0-4 on Sunday. And guess what? I didn't hear from anybody Friday or Saturday. I heard from everybody about Sunday. And my text back to him was, winning weekend. Have a good day. Cheers. Go pour yourself a cocktail. Winning weekend. They're like, winning weekend. We just went 0-4, and I'm like, no, we just went 15-6. You know what I mean? So people just got to train their thinking like this is a long ride. I mean, we've got basketball season, football season. We go into March Madness, then we go into baseball, then NBA kicks in, then hockey, then football. It's a roller coaster, and you got to be able to ride it properly if you want to make money doing it. And it's just, like you said, stock market. I mean, you got to be patient. If you're getting into a stock, you can't expect to cash out your stock within 2 weeks. You got to let it ride. You got to let it ride.
No, that's definitely key info just for the listeners, but also for just anyone in general who has any questions or any concerns with betting. And so, if you are in Ohio and you feel like you are having a problem, the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline is one call away. I don't necessarily have the number on hand, but I'm sure if you hit one little Google.
911.
You hit Google real quick. I'm sure you'll come up with it. But like going into now, we talked about the Super Bowl. Obviously, you gave your pick, Carl. Let me get your thoughts on it.
You know me, Croft. I'm a big trench guy. So what I saw the Eagles do to a San Fran O-line who might not be the greatest outside of Trent Williams, but what I saw them do to that O-line, the Chiefs O-line is probably like second or third in the league in general. Like they're really good in their own right. But I think with the waves that they have up front, I think at some point Mahomes will make one error or mistake. Because I think he's going to ball out. I think he's going to have that game. Similar to what Brady did to the Eagles like in 2017 or 18. But Brady just got sacked on the last drive of the game, and that because of the pressure. So, like, that's kind of like my synopsis. But would I be surprised if Mahomes pulled some rabbit out of his ass and, like, played amazing 450-something yards and legs his secondary up? Won't be surprised because Dak did it. I mean, I don't know if you got the stats on hand, but, like, Dak lit up the Eagles
they put up 40
about a month and a half ago. So, like it's doable, but I just think with the way they're humming right now, I think they'll be able to raise the Lombardi.
Interesting. So, no, I'm hoping for it. I hope for there's a good game. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. I would like to see a lot of points. I don't necessarily think it goes over, but at the end of the day, I just want to see some playmakers make plays, and I'm definitely excited to see Rihanna at the halftime show. I'll be glued. I'm interested to see like what she. I'm wondering if there's some props on that, like what song she starts off with and how long, just anything like that. But it'll be interesting because she hasn't performed, she hasn't done anything in a long time. So I'm hoping that she maybe drops like a new song or come back with some rude boy, like some old style, some old school Rihanna stuff. So we'll see. But now heading into the NBA, like obviously there was some big news. Like even this week, you got the John Moran story as far as the part of his entourage and things that they're talking about. You got LeBron on pace to break the record this week. He has a game today. I just saw that he might be sitting or resting or whatever the reason is for that, and maybe trying to break it in their next home game against the Bucks. But then also the Kyrie trade is obviously a lot of news that's being talked about in NBA. And so let's kind of just first start off with, Kyrie, because that's the biggest news. A lot of people are talking about it. I loved Kyrie and KD. I loved the combo that they had together. I love where the Nets were going. Like they, the interim coach or new coach was doing his thing. He was, having a good season so far. But, as far as the money situation, like I get where Kyrie's coming from. Like Ben Simmons has a long-term deal. Maybe because of all the antics in the offseason or previously, he didn't deserve or he may not deserve the long-term or anything like that, just because there's speculations if you're gonna have him the full season. But the way he's been playing, the way that the team is rolling, I just felt like that they should have figured something out there. I think he's a hell of a player. He knows he's a hell of a player. That's what you can't be if you're going to try to pull something like this. But I don't know. But I'm also excited to see him on the Mavericks. Have Luka getting help. It will be very interesting to see. And like if you take Luka, if you try to take Luka out the game, Kyrie's going to go over your head for 30. If you try to, double Kyrie, Luka's going to go over your head for 40. So, I mean, Luka's been doing it by himself so far. So I'm interested to see what they do together for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was bummed out to see the trade too. I thought if the Nets wouldn't made some moves at the deadline that actually helped their roster, that they could have been title contenders, especially in the East, where the East just isn't as strong as it has been in years past. Once again, I mean, you're really dealing with the Bucks, and you're obviously dealing. You got the 76ers and whatnot as well, but I thought the Nets mixed right in there. So it's hard to see that go. But Kyrie's got a lot of personal stuff going on. What he did last year to his team, sitting out the COVID situation, all of that. Now he goes, like you said, into Dallas. Can Jason Kidd get these two guys to coexist? I don't know. I don't know if Jason Kidd's the guy for it. He's kind of a looser coach. I don't know. Maybe that fits well to Kyrie. And then I just wonder, do Kyrie and Luka do that? Are they going to mesh well? Luka likes to bring it up and create his own offense. Does Kyrie help that or not? I think a lot remains unseen. They got rid of some big key players. They got rid of Dinwiddie. They got rid of Dorian Smith in the trade. So a couple key players that they lose. It will be interesting if they get Christian Wood back. I think they could be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, their odds to win the championship stormed down dramatically. They're now plus 1,500 to win it, and they're plus 450 to win the West. The Nuggets are still the favorite, but the Mavericks are right there now with the Warriors and also the Grizzlies. So the odds will tell you that they think this was a big boost for the Mavericks. I just truly wonder, can Luka and Kyrie exist? And they got to exist quick. I mean, the NBA playoffs are around the corner, so they've got to figure out quickly. It's not like they have a whole year to figure out, can we play together? So really excited to see it. I think it makes for a lot of fun to watch. But it'll be interesting in the end. Is this a first or second round exit for the Mavericks, or are they true title contenders? I think that remains unseen. My initial guess is that they're a first or second round outs, but we'll see.
It's also interesting to see Kyrie starting for the East All-Star, and now he's on the West. So that's interesting as well. Last week we kind of talked about the All-Star starters and felt that there might have been some talks on snubs or Embiid being a starter and Ja Morant being a starter. But when you look at the people in their position and at their position, it's just like, what are you going to do about it? So, but now, even Kyrie being in the West, like he makes that even for, years to come. If he stays in the West, who knows? That makes everything interesting too. Cause you got, like I said, Ja, you got Luka over there, you got Steph over there, Damian Lillard still playing at a high level. A ton of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a ton of, hoopers over on that West. So, I'm excited to see all that unfold too at the end of the day. But I do think there'll be. I think he had, if they wanted to win it, if Kyrie truly wanted to win a championship this year, I think he would have stayed with the Nets. I think that opportunity would have been better. The chemistry was starting. You started to see the chemistry. KD was getting healthy. I would say the East is challenging, but I think they had the pieces to get through it. Like you've seen what KD has done, by himself, 2 years ago against the Bucks, a toe over the 3-point line to take that. But then also last year they ran into the Celtics who were hot. But, it's interesting conversation with Kyrie because I see where he's coming from as far as the money part and, longevity and contract and all those things. So it makes sense. But hopefully, I just don't want him to, hopefully have, a bad run in with the Mavericks because I do like what Luka's doing. I like what that organization is doing. But this is an attempt that, Mark Cuban likes to make a splash, and we'll see what happens. Carl, we're just talking about the Kyrie trade and just thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of reasons, it's a gamble from the Mavericks. They didn't reassure that he would get the contract at this season's end anyways. So it's a gamble on their end. However, I mean, if you want to make Luka happy, who is your cornerstone, why not try to bring a guy in who has proven to make plays on that playoff stage, and Luka has proven that he can play next to ball dominant guys. He did it last year with Jalen Brunson, who's having a phenomenal year this year with the Knicks. And then Kyrie's entire career has been with guys like that. You want to go with James Harden, Kevin Durant, LeBron, Jason Tatum. You can go down the line. So both of the guys have proven to be able to play with guys of similar stature. I think it's just the big question is the other end of the floor. Can they guard me and you, which is the better question. So offensively, they'll be as good as anybody in this league. I mean, Luka was damn near that by himself. And then add Kyrie, that's just pick your poison. On the other end, it'll be interesting to see, especially in the playoffs when the game slows down, matchups, coaches get a little more tactical. How will they be able to combat a 7-game series? But I'm all for it, though. I mean, the West is wide the hell open. Steph is hurt. LeBron and AD can't stay healthy. The Nuggets are humming along, but do we trust them? The Clippers, who knows? So, I mean, if there's a year to go, like make a move like this is the year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You talk about, LeBron, obviously, and just the Western Conference. LeBron was obviously disappointed and vocal about it, in regards to the media of not being able to land Kyrie. It would have been dope to see, that rekindle that connection again. But also just because, like, we see LeBron having these, like, having some of the best years even of his career right now. And I personally want to see him make it to playoffs, try to get a legit run at it. And I thought, adding Kyrie to that team would have definitely, gave him a legit run. It would have made the Lakers season, it would have made LeBron's season more than just a record, which obviously is key, which is important. But I just think that, like, LeBron is tired of going into the game like an underdog. I'm sure this is like one of the first times in his career that he's been going into most games as an underdog, having to put up 40 points just to stay within 10, stay within 5 points. And so I know he's getting older, and I know he wants some help. So, touching on him, though, his record, should be broke this week. He has 36 more points to go. There's a game tonight. There's, speculation that he might sit out. And then they have a game later this week against the Bucks. Obviously, Kareem's old team. It'll be not necessarily a bigger game, but the atmosphere may be bigger. Obviously in LA versus, Giannis, Middleton, like that group. So I'm excited to see him break it. Obviously he's going to break it eventually. I'm excited for it. But also I want to get your thoughts on, sitting out this game for a fan that might have, spent their, not last, but spent a hefty amount of their money to try to get out and see this game, especially in Oklahoma City where, there's probably not much going on.
Yeah, that's been the biggest knock on the NBA these last few years. And it would be interesting if he does sit, because Oklahoma City is one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. They gave up 141 points to the Warriors just last night, including 12 threes to Klay Thompson. So this could be an opportunity if LeBron does give it a go. He could probably get to 37, no problem, and be able to have his ceremony at home tonight in the Staples Center. But no, that's a tough question. I mean, that's definitely one of my biggest knocks on the NBA is this risk management thing has just been killer. And like you said tonight, that place should be rocking. Again, OKC, a lighter opponent, probably not as much hype like you said. But if he does sit tonight, it's going to be a tall task to get 36 plus against the Bucks on Thursday, and then you start to risk not doing it at home, which I can't imagine he wants to do it on the road. So I hope he gives it a go tonight, at least gets that 25 where he's been all year, and then does it against the Bucks on Thursday night, and then we make a bigger deal out of it Thursday. So hopefully he at least plays a little bit tonight and kind of cuts into that. Otherwise, he's going to have a tall task on Thursday. But no, I feel for the fans that if he doesn't play tonight, that would just be brutal. Because I actually woke up this morning, I go, what would I pay to go see it happen? But then I'd also really have to know that it's going to happen. Otherwise, you waste a lot of money if he ends up 2 or 3 points short. So.
Yeah, so I think this is my time to let me cook right now. I got a rant to get off my chest. You're 100% right about the low management thing. It's hurt the NBA over the past several years. Started with Greg Popovich putting down Tim Duncan as old, which is comedy. But that's a whole other topic. But I got to cook right now, man. Why isn't this record getting like the same level? And I'm in the media, so I'm gonna like put myself in this same, like hold myself accountable. this isn't getting the, I believe, buzz that it deserves. Like, I remember when Steph Curry was aiming for the Ray Allen 3-point record, there was a countdown on ESPN every single day. And mind you, Steph is my favorite player, but yet every single day ESPN had a countdown for when Steph Curry was a possibility to break this record. I was at work yesterday, and these are sports people who had no idea LeBron was even close to this damn record, which is absurd to me. Matter of fact, the other day we just had 2-3 day for Michael Jordan. Now, granted, I understand we're just making up holidays, as we go on in society and stuff like that, and I get it. Having said that, though, this is a record who, for majority of our lifetimes, we thought was unbreakable. I mean, Kareem played for 20 some odd years and put up 30-some thousand points, and we thought, oh, this is an untouchable record. I remember when Drew Brees broke the passing touchdown record and how we made that a big deal. And then when Brady came along, it did the same thing. I remember these longevity records. We make such a big deal out of it, and rightfully so. And I know that home runs are a little different than points, but I was around, but I remember when Barry did it, right? Barry Bonds broke the record. I remember that, like the love for that, right? LeBron's doing the biggest record that you can break in basketball outside of championships, and it's getting love in the NBA circle, but I feel like the average sport fan should know that LeBron is about to, like, be the face of the record books, and I just had to get that off my chest because I've been over the past week. I'm like, do y'all even know that like LeBron about to like?
No, I agree. I mean, I'm a big NBA fan. I'm not going to say I'm a huge LeBron fan, but a big NBA fan, and I didn't know up until a few weeks, or I guess a few days ago, that here we are. And I even so you're right. You're absolutely right. There hasn't been near as much publicity around it. I figured we'd be plotting a ceremony after the game. I mean, I'll be curious if he does it, how long they pause for. I mean, are we going to, I hope they pause for a while. I do. I truly do. But it'll be interesting to see how it's all taken in once it happens. But being a diehard sports fan myself, no, I haven't heard much on it at all.
Even the Aaron Judge home run record. I remember they were cutting into, I forget the other sport, but they were cutting into other sports while he was at
college
bat.
football.
College football. Okay, yeah. So they were. I remember when he went up to bat, they would just cut into it and play it, and it took him like three. I think it took him a few games to end up breaking it too. So, that's it. That's a good point. I don't really watch much ESPN anyway nowadays, just because it's a lot of just gossip and whatever. But I haven't been hearing much of, and it sucks because it also falls on the same week as the Super Bowl. Kyrie Irving's trade. There's a lot of stuff going on, and so also another thing in the media, Ja Morant. I don't know how you want to label them, but we could just use entourage for now. They were in the media for, I don't know exactly what they did, but they basically just made something. They just made the staff uncomfortable. I guess posing a threat. I don't know if they directly threatened them or anything like that, but they were posing a threat, and it was Ja Morant's immediate circle, immediate friend group, and so obviously that's been a big topic just because of it's in a sense it's like Ja is not forming to it's what I feel like the Grizzlies allow. And it's not even like Ja going out of his character or doing anything like that. I feel like the Grizzlies and Memphis as a whole, appreciates that type of energy. And that's just what I think. They bring. I mean, one of the few teams that have rappers walk the team out of the tunnel, and they've been in multiple fights this year. Whether it's, I don't think Ja's been in any. But just players on the team have been in some, and I'm not even knocking it. Like, I love rap, I love Ja's energy, I love everything about the Grizzlies and how much fun they bring to the league. But at some point, I think the Grizzlies have maybe allowed Ja to have some wiggle room with his group of friends and things like that. That maybe they toed the line and went over the line finally. So. Maybe this was just bound to happen, or maybe the Grizzlies will take a look at inside the organization and be like, all right, we got to cut some of this stuff out. But obviously want to hear your takes on that situation, and what should Ja do going forward, or should the league have to step in going forward too?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's obviously a big distraction right now for the Grizzlies because they're playing bad basketball. I mean, this is a team that was, a few weeks ago was the number one seed. Now they're, I think, 4.5 behind the Nuggets, and they're trending the wrong way. I did some reading up, and I don't want to claim to know all the facts. It sounds like they were his entourage was shooting some red laser pens on some of the Bucks corporation and whatnot, which they freaked them out, thinking it was something other than a red pen, right? So I don't know all the facts. I want to claim to know all the facts, but it's definitely a distraction. And like you said, it can be a really good brand of basketball. It kind of reminds you of the Detroit Piston days back when they had Ben Wallace and Artest and all those guys, right? And, it's kind of that mentality, that tough guy mentality. Dylan Brooks is obviously bought into that mentality with the Grizzlies, but right now it's got them trending the wrong way. It's a distraction. I know Morant's hurt, but I haven't seen him play good basketball in a while now. You haven't seen that really good game in a while now. So it'll be interesting to see how they address it moving forward, without a doubt, because it's definitely a distraction to this team right now.
I think the best word you described it with is distraction, though, because there are teams who can toe that line, and that helps them out a ton. I mean, we can think about NFL teams in previous. I remember the Steelers. I hated the Steelers for years. I mean, obviously I'm a Browns fan, so I got a legitimate reason why. But I believe what made them so good, especially during the Ryan Clark and James Harrison years and all that stuff, they were able to toe that line of being over the top a little bit, being a little aggressive, and not necessarily things off the field, but just going a little extra, right? But they were performing on the field, so no one really came down too hard on them, right? It's when the stuff off the court becomes too big that your on the court product doesn't overshadow it, and that's, like you said, the Grizzlies haven't been able to match it on the court as well. But I do think there is, and I'm going to preface this by saying I don't know Ja. I don't have any friends that know Ja, so I'm not going to claim to know anything about his background like Shannon Sharp claimed on Monday morning. Mm-hmm. Having said that, though, there is a little, not a good look, a little disturbing trend over the past year that things have circled around him. For example, he got sued over the summer for punching someone at his house at a basketball game. Ja claimed it was self-defense. Someone else said it was malicious. But neither here nor there. I'm not saying, oh, he's a bad person for that, but I'm just stating the facts of what's happened. Then on social media, after the Warriors lost in the postseason, he tweeted to a fan who was, coming at him crazy, "It's free to see how hollows feel." Now, for those at home, that means hollow tips, hollow like bullets. Granted, I don't think Ja was going to shoot this random fan. But this last incident with his entourage involved, I don't think Ja is a bad dude by any means at all. But having said that, when he's the face of this youth, right? I mean, him, Jason Tatum, Luka, they're the face of the NBA, right? This up and coming brand. Kids love wearing his shoes, all that different type of stuff, and they want to brand you in a certain way. But that also comes with a little bit more responsibility and accountability in everything that you do. And it's hard to toe that line, like you guys have alluded to, when you are that tough rah-rah team, right? So he has to do a better job of whether it's his friend group or it's just self-discipline with his decision-making, of being able to, I can still be that guy on the court, but off the court, I got to make sure that my things are tidied up, because right now, the trend over the past year or so has not been great.
Got it. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a ton of things going on, obviously, in NBA, and you talk about the off the field, and I remember off the court. I remember one big thing with LeBron was, his entourage, and it's actually funny because that video of him, Rich, Ernie, and someone else were sitting on couches doing this talk show, and LeBron talked about his friend group and things like that. So it's funny that started to resurface, during this time. It was probably for a reason. It probably came back around for a reason. And you see how the label of, posse or entourage that LeBron had, and you see, the business success that his friends, started to have. So hopefully, it's just, speculations is whatever. And, they go off to do, great things and help Ja, immensely as far as business and, in a positive way. So I appreciate you guys, tapping in, with, Varsity House podcast for sure. And so definitely we'll see if LeBron ends up breaking the record as well tonight, or if he breaks it, later on in the week, we'll see. But again, it was a great conversation. I appreciate you both.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys having me. And just for the record, this is probably the least confident I've been in a Super Bowl in a long time. So it's going to be a heck of a football game, and my money's on the Chiefs, but it's nowhere near big money.
Def-
So it should be a great
Last
game.
question: what color is the Gatorade?
Oh boy, we're going to go with the Chiefs. We're going to go red. We're going to go red. It's going on Andy Reid, and they've got the red in there.
Red Gatorade it is.
All right, bet. And Troy, one real quick, just give the fans a way to, check you out, check out what you're doing and everything you're doing.
Yeah, so it's troywins.com. I charge $25 a week. That gets you 7 days of service. There's a lot of handicappers out there charging much more for a product that's much less. The reason I charge $25 is I want everybody to be able to afford it. That's key for me. I don't want to price anybody out of it. And if you're not happy with it, we give you your money back. There's no questions asked. If you're not satisfied for any reason at all, we'll give you your money back. It's troywins.com. Cell phone's 425-577-1588. You can always text me, call me, just to shoot the shit. Doesn't have to, you don't have to even purchase. I'm like you guys. I love talking sports, but we think we provide a lot of value for $25 a week. So it's troywins.com.
Definitely. So again, Troy West, troywins.com. Appreciate you coming on, Carl. I'll always appreciate you stopping by. Hopefully next year the Bills make it. We'll see. But again, appreciate you guys. This is another episode of Varsity House Podcast Sports Show, and thank you for tuning in.